Hi, welcome back to Creative Dirt Podcast. I'm your host, Honor Teague, and this is a podcast all about cultivating creativity in your daily life. So, of all of the modes of creative self-care that we've talked about so far on this season, I really think that your home environment and your space actually has the biggest impact on your mental health. The majority of our life is spent in some sort of place, whether it's your home or if it's your office, you're always existing somewhere. And with home design and organization, you have the power to totally change your moods with color or smells or furniture, texture. When you see a lot of this like aspirational imagery online of like Instagram, kitchens and all this beautiful stuff, it's hard to determine the line between like, okay, I'm looking at this to collect inspo, and I'm also looking at this to sort of unfortunately feel a little bit inadequate about my personal space that I live in. And so sometimes it can be hard to see beautiful images online, but to realize, oh, that takes a lot of energy to make that happen. That takes, money to make that happen. That takes people to make that happen. So it can be hard to see home design as something that's accessible. But there is one designer here in Nashville who we're going to talk to today that is making home design accessible. And she's also making it sustainable, affordable, and luxurious. And her name is Kristin Keyes, owner of Kristin Keyes Interiors. And she is making artful spaces through the use of pre-loved furnishings, saving homeowners time and money, and saving the planet. So what's not to like about that? So without further ado, we're going to hop into this conversation with Kristin. It's an awesome convo, and I hope you guys get a lot out of it. Welcome. We've just been chit-chatting.
We have.
And trying to set up all this audio stuff.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. Yeah, just to like figure out a thing you don't know how to do.
Yeah.
And also like a lot of buttons.
There's so many buttons. There's purple buttons and yellow buttons. But speaking about figuring out things and being impressed with people, I'm so excited that you're here. I'm super excited to talk about your business. So could you introduce yourself for all the guests today?
Sure. My name is Kristin Keyes, and I am the owner and lead designer of Kristin Keyes Interiors, which is a low-waste luxury interior design firm here in Nashville.
Low-waste luxury?
Low-waste luxury.
Did you invent that phrase?
Yes.
I must have said that. That's my new aesthetic.
Yeah.
So
yeah, mine too.
Really?
Well, it's like just my aesthetic period, not new.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is that how you would describe your design style? Like if somebody was coming into one of your spaces, would they be like, oh, this is like boho? Or would you be like, this is low waste luxury?
No, okay. I feel like it doesn't, because I feel like you can do it's more of like a mindset, right? Like you could do any style in a low waist. You could have a low waist approach to any style. Like if you like traditional, you could have a low waist approach to that look. If you like, I don't know, transitional.
Yeah.
Mid-century modern, like all the ones, right? Like you could approach any of them in a low waist with a low waist mindset, I think.
I'm obsessed with this. This is so cool. So can we talk about how did we get here? Tell me the story.
You want the story?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'll try to be quick, but in the summer, so I have 3 kids, 3 daughters. Oh. They're currently 2, 5, and 6.
Okay.
But in the summer of 2021, I had my 3rd.
Okay.
And I had been working in schools like my whole career, like for 15 years almost. But I had decided I was going to take a year off with the 3rd baby. Mm-hmm. And she was born in June. And, it was my 3rd and she was an infant and the other 2 were at daycare. And I had like more free time than I usually had, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I was feeling, I wouldn't have used the words burnt out then, but I think it's probably an appropriate description of how I was feeling about working in schools, even though I loved it and I did it well. And I really enjoyed it for a really long time. I really was just I think craving something new.
I'm definitely thinking about pandemic era too.
Yeah. It was that. Yeah. And I was pregnant in the pandemic and I was running virtual school. It was that.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, I had the baby and I, had some more free time than I used to have. And I just like, her room was like a mess. Like, you know how like we had like moved the other two and, because we were having a third baby and like her room was like a storage locker. Like there was like old furniture, bins, like, so anyway, I just started like aggressively decorating her room, like all in, like I was like nursing the baby, watching like design TV and like, just like going crazy on it. So, I kind of finished the room and then I kind of like had this little aspiration that maybe I would have it photographed. And so I like found found a photographer and she came over and, well, she was about to come over the night before. I had a friend come over to like help. I was like, do you want to help me like style, like not that we know what that is, but like, do you want to help me like style this room? And so she came over and we were hanging out. And at the end, she was like about to leave. And she was like, hey, do you want to do a room at our house? And I was like, because she just bought a house. And I was like, yes.
Oh my God.
I want to do a room at your house. So I would like literally, I said, I want to do a room at your house. And I literally would like take my baby to her house, put the baby down for a nap and like work on her guest bedroom for a few hours. And then I would like get the baby and go home. Like
she's a working mom.
So so that's what I did. And so that was like a great like first job. Cause like it was my friend, but it was like really good practice at like doing it for someone else, someone who has their own taste.
Thinking through their taste. That's gotta be hard.
Yeah. It's different than your own taste. Right. And like, thinking through systems and like, how do you do this like efficiently? Right. So anyway, that's how it started. And I like, can't believe I left this out. The whole thing was on Facebook Marketplace the whole time. Oh. So like literally, because like you think about like I was taking a year off of work, right? So we're down in income. Yeah. So we don't have a lot of money to play with this nursery thing. But I have time. And like, so I'm like literally just like selling like anything we can on Marketplace. I'm like a Marketplace hustler. I'm like selling it. And then like when I would get a little bit of money, I'd be like, okay, like back on Marketplace, got to find the crib. Like, so I really did that first room in our house. I had always dabbled. Like I used to do Craigslist, right? Like, but it was like a next level use of Facebook Marketplace, the nursery. And so then when I did it for her, like for my friend, I did that all secondhand too, or almost all secondhand. Wow. And then at the end of that, I was like, I think there's people who want this. Like, I think, oh my gosh, there's got to be a way to turn a salary at this. Oh, like, I'm just going to try. Like,
that's half the battle, right?
Yeah. So that's what I did. So yeah, that's the story.
This is amazing. Yeah. I love this approach. I think one of the things too that I was really attracted to about your design when I first saw it on Instagram, because we're both like weird random internet friends. Was that it just looked, the spaces were transformational. And then looking at your website and seeing sort of like the budgets for these, I was like, what? Like, how is that possible? It's pretty amazing.
It's because secondhand, I mean, I don't think people should do it necessarily because it's more affordable, but like it is more affordable.
That's very
cool. I mean, not always like maybe you're buying like high-end antiques or something, right? But like it definitely can be substantially more affordable than like a traditional interior design model.
So why has low waist? Why have you been drawn to that?
That's a good question. I mean, I've obviously I used to do school reform. Like I've always been a person who like, if I'm going to work really hard at something, I want to work really hard at something that like is for the greater good and is like benefiting the community. And as I kind of like was going through like the mental transition of like maybe considering a career in interior design, I was like a little grossed out by the model of like like an interior designer is an artist helping people with like a very primal thing of like fixing up their house. Yeah. Which is very like, who doesn't want a nice house, right? But the way the model works is everyone's very incentivized to buy more things, more expensive things. Like, because the designer's taking a cut of like, is like marking up all the items, right? So like that, the whole model of the sector is like encouraging more consumption, more expensive things, right? And so like that part was like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. Like
just being a contributor, not a creator.
That doesn't sound right. Yeah. So I just think like there's no reason why any of us need to contribute to like the birth of another Pottery Barn chair. And people don't want to, right? So let's try to avoid that.
That's so cool. And also I love that you're saving the planet too. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's not good. It's like the foam, you know, you get the chair comes and like you have to break the foam over your leg and put it in the dumps. Like
my gosh.
It's not good. Like,
this is great.
We can do better. And there's so much cool stuff out there already. Like the design is not hurting at all for like avoiding new things.
Well, I feel like it makes a space look more like storied and collected and like it just looks a little bit more not like straight out of the package.
Yeah.
Like it looks, I don't know.
I think it is collected. Better. I mean, I think for me, like it's more interesting because you like, if you're just like scrolling on West Elm, like if you're just like scrolling, like you're not going to like imagine putting these things, two disparate things together in this interesting way. Like you won't.
Yes.
Because that's not what you like are giving your mind access to, you know,
kind of seeing the display and being like, I love that. I want that. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Or like trying to like, I don't know, maybe copy a little bit. There's a lot of like inherent creativity with doing these sort of like Facebook Marketplace finds because it's kind of more of not completely one of a kind, but it's more one of a kind than a Pottery Barn.
Oh yeah.
Couch or
chair, whatever
like you said.
Yeah. You're like 100%. And like it's just like more, you have to go slowly, right? And it like kind of evolves over time. It's like iterative, collaborative. It's not like you're just like figuring it all out and ordering the stuff and go, right? Like it's not going to have that like perfect catalog feel. It's going to have a different kind of feel that's perfect in its own way.
I love that.
Perfectly imperfect.
Oh, what is the process like for the client? So like you go in and is it like, okay, it's like this weekend I'm on HGTV and 24-hour home renovation turnaround, or is it like months type of process?
No, it's in between. So project timelines are about 6 weeks per room, but if I'm doing multiple rooms in your house, it might be more like 4 because it's a little more efficient. But basically it looks like we chat, like I learn about like what you like, what's going on in your space, what you love about it, what you want to change about it, what your style is, what your like functional needs are. Like, do you like what's going on with your dog, your kids, like what kind of storage needs do we have, all of that. And then I present a design plan, and that's what you see on Instagram with like the hand drawing.
Yes.
And like there's a PowerPoint and there's a furnishings estimate kind of thing. Okay. And then, so anyway, that's like the first like meeting.
Yeah.
And then, you know, for people who are like, love it, let's go. Then we schedule a start date.
Okay.
And literally I create like a project plan. It's like week 1, we are, you know, getting a paint estimate. We're looking for a sofa, a rug, and curtains this week. And I'll send you like, okay, here's a sofa rug curtain combination I really like. What do you think? Here's an alternative. We could do the sofa instead. What do you think? And maybe you say, I love all 3. And I'm like, great. And then I go or someone on my team goes and like, and they're usually Facebook Marketplace listings.
Okay.
So someone goes, picks those things up.
So they're on it. This is why some things go so fast on Facebook Marketplace.
Well, I'm not sure.
There's professionals on there.
I don't know to what extent, like, I'm actually changing the face of Facebook Marketplace in Nashville. I think it's like I'm such a small piece of it, but like I do always win.
There you go.
Like if someone else wants it, like I can pick it up faster.
Yes.
Yeah. So then we just kind of like go through that way.
Okay.
So I feel like I've kind of like systematized it a little bit so that like even though there's a lot of uncertainty in the secondhand market, like we can get through your project and like get it done relatively quickly, you know, compared to like a traditional design timeline, which really is months.
Oh my gosh. Especially when they're knocking down stuff. Like
I don't do that.
Okay, good. Yeah. That sounds like a lot of work. So she's an expert. You are an expert at the Facebook Marketplace. You're a connoisseur. You have figured out the game. Do you have any advice for people listening for how to source secondhand items from Marketplace? Is there a good way to do it, or are there other like sites that you're using as well? I really do. It's really mostly Facebook Marketplace. It really is. Like I would like to be like, oh, like I do use like some consignment shops and vintage antique stores, but they can be more expensive.
And then once you get used to the Marketplace prices, it's really hard to go back.
It's so hard. People are moving.
Scroll is very convenient. And like, you can see it.
Yes. Yeah. You can do from like sitting.
You can send a link to a client and they can see it. Like it is efficient. But anyway, to your question about advice, I think it's not a direct answer to your question about sourcing specifically, but the biggest piece of advice I would give to people is to consider the power statement of your room. So this is like, so that's language. I mean, it's the same idea as like a focal point. That's language from a designer out of Atlanta called Nancy. Her name is Nancy Braithwaite.
Okay.
But anyway, it's like, you know, you walk into your room. If you're walking into your living room, what is that first wall you see?
Okay.
Or your bedroom? What is that first wall you see? That wall should be a composition. Like you want to arrange furniture and source furniture so that things are symmetrical and like clear and draw your eye to it. So like when I approach a room, like I try to work out that main power statement before anything else.
Oh.
So like, you know, we're going to get your bed in the right spot. We're going to get your nightstands, your lamp, your art. And I'm not going to think about that other corner until that main view is done and makes sense.
Oh.
So for me, like when I stopped thinking so much about like, I like this piece and moved to I'm creating this composition and these things will work in the greater composition, that was like an important like shift in thinking that I had to make. And I think a lot of people like would benefit from. And so then when you're looking, you're not necessarily looking for like a nightstand that you happen to love. It's like a nightstand that serves the purpose in the greater composition, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. I love that. Okay. So
it's less about shopping and more about like building the composition.
Yeah. And I can see how this is a really good sort of method for the secondhand stuff, because sometimes you can get a hold of things and sometimes you can't. So you're not like making the mistake of falling in love with this one thing and it can only be that. Like you got to be a little more fluid with it.
Yeah.
That's a good way.
Like it needs to meet certain criteria. It needs to be a certain size and it maybe can only be a couple different colors, you know, because of what you've already gotten. But beyond that, it can kind of be anything.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
So when we're thinking about this power statement, is this like I walk into the room and it's like you mentioned the first image you see, or is it one specific like angle?
I think of it as like a wall. So like when you walk into your bedroom, what do you see? Like what's the first wall you see?
I see a mirror.
Is your bed on that wall?
No, my bed's not on that wall. No.
Could it be?
It could.
Why isn't it?
Because there's this like board and batten thing where my bed is up against, because it kind of frames the bed a little bit more. But
like previous owner put the board and batten thing and it kind of defined where that thing should be.
I could take it down.
You could, or could you board and batten all the way around?
Oh my God.
You could.
Wow. I didn't even think about that.
And I know a lot of people are afraid to do that because of where a window is too. Sometimes people will be like, well, there's a window there. So we just like put the bed somewhere where there wasn't a window. But like you can put furniture in front of windows. It's okay.
I love that. Yeah. This is so cool. I'm going to go home and just like look at my room and like see it from a whole new perspective.
Yeah, you should. And then you should like make someone help you move your bed and see how that feels.
Oh my gosh. My husband's going to get to work tonight.
Yeah, totally. Right. Like the mattress will be leaned against the wall.
Yeah, I know, right? That's funny. Okay. This season, we're talking all about mental health and self-care. And so our episode today is about how designing your space can contribute to your self-care.
Yeah.
So from your point of view, what kind of effect can a well-designed space have on your mental health, or a poorly designed space? Let's start with a well-designed space.
I think a well-designed space, in a well-designed space, you just don't feel those constant like, like I have to walk around this thing, or like that mess is right there, or like you walk into a room and you're like, oh, like this is pretty. Yeah. Nothing's in my way. There's a place for all the things I need. Like, there aren't things in here that I don't need or don't want.
It's like a relieving, like,
yeah.
It seems like,
Or sometimes like I just painted my girl's room orange.
Oh, that's cute.
It's really cute. It's really cute. But now every time I like walk by the door, I'm like, oh,
it makes you feel some kind of way.
Yeah. It's like surprising. Like
it's a power statement.
Yeah, it really is.
That's so cool. I had an orange room growing up. It was like a marigold orange. Yeah.
Well, you said that was your favorite color. Sound check.
Well, I didn't just say that. My favorite color kind of like oscillates. Right now we're on like marigold orange, but it's been green, it's been purple, lots of different ones. Okay. I love that. I agree. And then with like having the chaotic space,
I think it's just like a million constant pings of like low level unpleasantness, right? Like you're like, oh, the chords, like I don't know. For me, I don't think everyone's wired this way. Like, I think my husband could like happily walk by a pile of cords in the middle of what should be a power statement. And it probably would not like it wouldn't have an effect on his mental health, but it does for me. And I think it does for a lot of people.
Yes. I love the way that you said it as pings. And I'm thinking about how a lot of us are getting pings from social media and from news. And it's like all this bad stuff. Well, not bad stuff. Social media is not bad, but I just mean like we get a lot of bombardment in different ways, whether it's good or bad. And we don't want to also make that our space doing.
It'd be good if your house doesn't do that to you.
It would be good if your house doesn't send you a notification to say, hey, you forgot Stacey's birthday for the third time in a row.
It does feel like that, though. Like,
I know. That's a really great way to put it. Okay. Okay. So something obviously too that like frustrates people and gives people that cringy thing is like seeing a lot of clutter in their house.
Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts about like detachment, like mental, emotional detachment from clutter? How do you advise your clients to kind of like let go of some stuff?
I feel like that's a thing that I haven't all the way figured out yet. Like it's still sort of like however they are used to doing that is like how it's probably going to be. But I frequently have the thought that some version of a partnership with like a professional organizer could be really beneficial because they're very interrelated, right? Like, but for me personally, I am like a original Marie Kondo enthusiast. Like when the book first came out, my friends and I read it with gusto and like bragged about how many like bags of trash can bags of things we like took out. So like we were in like,
I love that. Yes.
So I, you know, whatever, there's like been backlash about the different things she said or whatever, but like, well, people are just like, don't tell me to get rid of my stuff, Marie Kondo. And I'm like, no, Marie Kondo, you are lovely. She's got super into organizing and editing, and she had a system and a philosophy, and she wrote a book about it. Yes. What is not to love?
It's all about sparking joy. And you're allowed to keep things if you want. Yeah.
So anyway, I do really love her. And like in my own house, like really use that. Like,
that's awesome.
Methodology.
You kind of have to like think about that a lot. And I do like Skillshare sometimes. It's like a fun little like platform for like creative classes.
Fun.
Yes. And they actually had a class on minimalism on there. It was like 30 minutes. So I took it real quick and it was like, you know, you're allowed to get rid of things that you got as a gift if you don't want to. And it's like, it's sometimes, you create these rules in your head for like, oh, but this has a story, but this. And it's like, have I worn this in the last year? Am I going to use this in the next? And it's like, be honest with your answers. And after that class, I'll just say I had some bags too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, hers is just like literally just like hold it and like, how do you feel? Like it's the simplest possible criteria.
Yeah.
Just like,
It's not about the object. It's about you.
Yeah. And like what, you know, like they, you know, sometimes having empty space is a lot more valuable than having things.
Ooh. Negative space.
Yeah, you need some empty space.
Wow. I feel like everything in society is like the opposite of empty space. Like everything is filled with stuff and I guess bombardment, like I said before, or just like busyness. Your schedule is filled with stuff. Your phone is filled with stuff, and it's like your home is probably filled with stuff. But like we need some empty space in our life.
We need some empty space in our life.
Let's get empty. Yeah. Let's empty it out. Okay, I love that. Do you have any other tips for designing a space that gives a continuous, positive mental outlook? We talk about empty space. Anything else?
I just think, this isn't really a tip so much as like an advantage. Like one advantage of shopping on Facebook Marketplace, aside from the inherent, like it's better for everyone-ness of it, is like, because things are relatively inexpensive and you can resell them, like you can be more experimental. So it's kind of like a just do it thing, right? Like, and it takes away some of the edge of like, you know, if you're ordering something that's very expensive and it's going to cost a lot of money to return, blah, blah, blah. Like it kind of like lowers the barrier to entry, I think, which is for someone who's like wanting to get started with designing their own home. It's a nice like way to source for that reason as well.
That's a great point because you can you hate it. Okay. Return policy, put it back on Facebook Marketplace.
And you do lose money.
Okay. Yes.
Sometimes, often.
Yeah.
With that. But like, you know, there's like a lot of loss associated with like returning things and buying things retail. You know, there's problems. There are problems in both worlds.
Yeah, that's a good point. I once bought a room divider on Facebook Marketplace because I wanted something behind my screen when I was like working, because like, oh, like I need a room.
A Zoom background.
Yeah, and then a Zoom background.
Cool one.
Mm-hmm. And I got one. It was from my Facebook Marketplace. I stood it up and it was like really leaning. I was like, you could have put that in the description. So I sold it again. But I did say it was leaning.
And you probably lost money.
And I lost money.
Because you were honest about the
I was honest.
Yeah, there's I mean, there are definitely like a lot of pitfalls, but for me, like the advantages like far outweigh the disadvantages.
I agree. That's great. And it keeps moving. It's a fluid living being.
Yeah, it is.
You can always sell, buy, go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You miss something, you have to like think of something else.
Yes.
It's okay. It's all good.
Something we talked about kind of actually in email when we were just chit-chatting about this is like, you had mentioned that buying secondhand also, you're having an interaction with like a person on the other end, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's just like a much more direct, like, I'm going to go to someone in my community, pick up a chair out, a set of chairs out of their dining room, come put it in my dining room. It's just like a much more direct human experience.
That is cool.
And I found like for me, when I was like not seeing people in the pandemic, like when I like, and like not leaving the house, like I really am happier when I'm just like in the actual world, interacting with actual people. And Marketplace does do that in a way. Like you chat with the person. I do at least. Yeah. Like they tell you a story about their kid's bed and like, like
they do.
Yeah,
they totally do. I recently made a pact with myself that I love buying earrings. Like I'm an earring gal. I
see that. Yeah, very cool.
And I recently told myself, I'm not going to buy any earrings from like a big box store. Like I'm going to get it from either like a small business or like a little Instagram business or Etsy. Like because then too, it's like you kind of have the power to like make someone's day, or maybe not their day, but like, you make an impression on somebody and they have a little spark of joy, like we talked about, or it makes them happy to be like, oh, I made a sale.
Yeah,
so cool.
And it means that like there's a place for working artists in the world.
That is amazing.
Which we want to have a place for working artists in the world, don't we?
Oh, yes. Tell me about, why do you love home design? Out of all the things, you worked in education, you've worked in various spaces. Why have you chosen this as your path?
I don't know if there's like a super clear why, but I will say it's been very instinctual. Like I have 3 kids and it's part of like motherhood, but it feels very primal to like want to make my house nice.
Yeah.
And I think it feels that way for a lot of people. Like, I don't know. I don't have like a why. I didn't like think of a why and then start doing this. Like I just started doing it because I wanted to do it and I was excited about it. And that's all. Like, I don't know.
No, I love it. I feel like we all like deserve to have spaces where we can be ourselves and relax, and sometimes other environments in our life are not necessarily those spaces. You just having your own space, whether it's a home or maybe it's your car, that your space that you can make it your own, that you love, or maybe it's
like you were talking about in your like laundry episode.
Yeah,
like
laundry episode.
Maybe
it's your laundry room,
like your laundry room support your newfound. Or I don't know, like it's the same idea.
No, that's a good point. Because sometimes like you, instead of trying to have control over everything, like when I try to clean my house, I'm like, okay, I'm going to clean the house. And it's like, I'm trying to clean the whole house and it's so hard. And I'm like, after like 2 rooms, I'm like, I'm exhausted. I don't think I can keep doing this.
Yeah.
So sometimes you've got to start like really small.
Yeah.
Like with one room. Yeah. Just like when you work with clients.
I do work one room at a time.
You do?
And that would be a piece, I didn't think of this, but like it would be a good piece of advice. I think it's much better when you're working on your own home to pick a room. It doesn't really matter. Like get it all the way to 100. Like make it. And then once you're like, okay, I love this room. The things that I did that worked are, then and the things that I did that didn't work are, and then and you can like repeat. Versus if you kind of like skip around, it's not as satisfying. Nothing's ever done. And you kind of have just never made it all the way through the process.
That's a good point.
So you don't know what all the steps of it are, you know?
That's awesome. So get one whole thing done. You can
finish a whole room.
The benefits.
Pick a room, any room.
And that's it. That's fantastic. I love it. So how can folks find you if they're in the Nashville area and they want to work with you? Where would we find you?
I would love to work with you, any of you. But yeah, I'm on Instagram, Kristin Keyes Interiors. And then the website is KristinKeyesInteriors.com. Pricing is all on the website. So you can like figure that all out and feel certain about your choice. And then I do free discovery calls for 20 minutes. So if people, and that's where people just like show me their space with their, usually with their iPhone or whatever.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's how you would get started.
Okay. Well, call her up. Oh my gosh.
Please do.
Tell you about my bedroom.
Yeah. You get 20 minutes free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have to do it. This is awesome. My gosh. Well, thank you so much. This was literally, you did an amazing job. This was awesome.
Thanks.
I learned so much, and I'm gonna go paint my bedroom tonight.
This was a lot of fun.
I want to do that now.
Yeah, give me before and after.
Did you have fun? Oh my gosh, yes, I'll do it. Okay.
Well, there you have it. That is my conversation with Kristin. I really took away from that so much about the power statement of the room. Sometimes I think about one view of the room and I'm like, okay, this part looks good, but I don't always think about the first thing that you see within the room. So I'm really going to be thinking about that in my space. So, if you guys like this podcast, feel free to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. That really helps us grow the podcast so we can bring you more episodes. And I hope to see you guys next time. Don't forget, I'm rooting for you.